Hi, hello, welcome back to the channel. So, I have a really interesting video idea, or had. So yesterday, I had this idea where I saw Matt from Matt's book review. Matt's fantasy book reviews. He posted a review of the latest volume in The Wandering Inn, and I have been thinking for a while what to do on Thursdays. So you guys, if you're a regular follower to the channel, you'll know that Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are currently scheduled for books, for content about books that I'm currently reading or have just read. So, but what I'm finding is I read around 1.5 books a week, I think. So that often means that I don't have 3 videos worth of content. So for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So my idea was I saw The Wandering Inn and I thought to myself, I'd love to read The Wandering Inn based on Matt's reviews for it and how strong he says it is. But is The Wandering Inn the perfect web serial for me? So I thought that today what I would do is try out 3 very popular web serials, and then pick the one that I'm going to read. And then every week I'm going to read a few chapters on Thursdays and then record a video, um, which is going to be like I've read from chapter X to chapter X of this web serial, and then like full spoiler thoughts on it. And I feel like that will help you to if you want to and you're viewing this to read along with me, and then that will so you can see the video go up and go, all right, I have to read these chapters. Then you can read the whole thing, and then you can join me in the comments and tell me how you feel about those chapters. All of these web novels or web serials, I think they're actually called. I've been calling them web novels, but I think that that's specifically the like Chinese and Korean version of them is what's referred to as web novels. So all of these web serials are available to read completely for free online. I will post the links to the first chapters of all 3. So yeah, I'm going to be doing 3 today. I'll post the links for the chapters for all 3 in the video description. And at the end of the video, what I'll do is I'll decide which one I want to read on Thursdays going forward. If I decide to read something like The Wandering Inn, I know that they post a chapter a week. Pirate Arbor is the reviewer of The Wandering Inn, the writer of The Wandering Inn, and The Wandering Inn is one of my selections. They write every week. I'm never going to catch up with them. I'm sure almost never. But what I could do is try and read more than a chapter a week, and then you never know if this booktube channel carries on forever. Maybe we'll catch up. Probably not, but maybe. So, and maybe Pirate Arbor will take a break or something. I know they did take a break earlier this year, so there you go. What? What web serials are we talking about today? So number 1 is The Wandering Inn. That'll probably be the final one that I read. So The Wandering Inn is a progression fantasy or lit RPG. I'm never sure of the difference. I think lit RPG is probably more accurate, which is where there's like Dungeons and Dragons style game mechanics built into the books. So the characters will like level up and learn new abilities and things like that. And then you'll also, it's kind of about characters from our world who are transported into a Dungeons and Dragons style fantasy world. And apparently it's kind of cozy fantasy, so it will give me a chance to try that genre out because I never got round to reading Legends of Lattes before I had to return it to the library. So it'll give me that chance to get a bit of a cozy fantasy vibe, see whether I should try more of those books. I'm sure, by the way, I'm already seeing that these videos will do terribly unless the fandom for one of these web serials finds my videos and starts following along. Um, I'm making these videos, number one, to kind of expand my reading and to vary up what I read every week for you guys. And also, I really want to try web serials, and they're 100% free. And I'm always very much interested in trying to make this hobby a little bit more sustainable and manageable, especially for those on lower incomes. Because I try to spend as little as I can on books because, I have a child and that's expensive. It's an expensive thing to do, have children. And I also have other hobbies, so I don't want to spend all my money in the same place. Anyway, very weird tangent. Wandering in is, it's about this girl who kind of like goes through a portal into a fantasy world and takes refuge in an abandoned inn, and when she starts cleaning it up, she gains a level in innkeeping, and then she's like, oh, okay, now it's time to now I can become an innkeeper. And so that's kind of how the story starts, from what I understand. Next series that I'm going to read is one of the, if not the most popular web serials, which is called Worm. Worm is by... Don't know, I will find out. I'm clicking FAQ. Is there a... there is... So Wild Bow is the name of the username of the person who wrote it. However, I know they have kind of gone public with their real name. I just don't know what that is to hand. Do apologise. Worm is a dark superhero story. So yes, I know that you guys know I love my superheroes. I have wanted to read Worm for a while, and I have actually started and read a few chapters of Worm a few years ago when I first heard about it. But at that time, I didn't have a consistent reading habit, and I also didn't have a booktube channel which I wanted to fill with content. So now I'm coming to Worm thinking about using something like this. Maybe this would be something that also could be used as a palate cleanser between giant books like Wheel of Time and Robin Hobb's Farseer, Realm of the Elderlings, things like that. So, whereas Wandering In obviously is fantasy, it wouldn't be a great palate cleanser. Worm is modern day superhero, kind of a dark superhero story. I think the idea behind Worm is that this young girl has a superpower to control bugs, and one night she goes out in her kind of superhero costume and is mistaken for a supervillain, and then kind of has to deal with the fallout and how that affects her kind of superheroing career. I'm really interested in the story because I like superhero stories. It's also extremely well regarded, and it's complete. So if I did decide to read Worm, I wouldn't be reading it for the rest of my life. So there's something to that at least. Finally, I have got... Let me just get the full name of this one. So finally, I've picked out from... I read a bunch of articles and I watched a bunch of videos about web serials, and I picked out one that sounded right up my street, which is called The Gods Are Bastards. So this one is described as kind of a dark fantasy western. So kind of steampunky with kind of elements of Conan Doyle, but also classic sword and sorcery. And I think that you guys probably know from how much I've talked about how much I love Dark Tower and how much I love Mistborn Era 2, that Western combo with fantasy is like the secret sauce for me. So all three of these books, I'm genuine, I say books, all three of these web serials I'm genuinely really excited to get to. And what we're going to do is I'm going to try and attempt some cool guy editing rather than the simple editing that I normally do. And I'm going to read the first chapter of all three on camera. I'll speed it up, obviously, so you don't have to sit and watch me for 10 minutes read a chapter. I'll sit and read the whole thing on camera. I'll give my thoughts to you guys as I go along. And then if there's any... Yeah, so I'll read the whole thing on camera. I'll give you my thoughts as I go. And then when we get to the end of each first chapter, I'll give you my impressions and tell you whether I've decided I do or don't want to read that one. Or at least whether it's going to become my Thursday read for these Thursday videos, which are going to be, unless this video gets like 1 view. So unless these videos do incredibly poorly, the plan will be to read web novel chapters and do a full spoiler review every single Thursday. So this will also be kind of a pilot for that format. So if you are watching this and thinking that the way that I read I won't be reading the chapters on camera for future videos, but today we're going to read on camera. I'll talk to the camera at any point during the chapter if something cool happens or something interesting happens, and then again we'll give impressions at the end. Full spoiler impressions. It will be full spoiler. So your reading list for this one is Chapter 1 of The Gods Are Bastards, Chapter 1 of Worm, and Chapter 1 of The Wandering Inn. So let's dive right into things. I'm going to start with the final book that I just discussed, so The Gods Are Bastards, mostly because it's already open on my tablet here. I've chosen to read on the tablet instead of trying to convert these and send them to my Kindle, because I feel like that is probably one of the best ways to support the writers. I do actually have the Audible audiobook of The Wandering Inn, Volume 1, but for this particular video, I'm going to be reading it because I kind of tend to enjoy that a bit more. So, without further ado, despite there having been several further ados, let's get down to reading. I'm looking forward to this one, and this will be my first time reading on camera, so, be gentle, I guess. It's a Harry Potter reference. Wasn't really expecting that in a Western, but I guess everybody loves Harry Potter. And it is set in a fantasy world as well. So there's a joke about a platform 9 3/4 at this train station where the story starts, and I guess that's just it's just a joke for the audience, not for the universe. So interesting. We have a cat visitor. Buddy? Okay, so chapter 1 of I can never remember the name of this. I'm going back one. Going to click about. The Gods Are Bastards. Should I have written this down? We'll never know. So chapter 1, you follow a character called Triciny, who is a paladin in a kind of sisterhood, kind of like nuns slash like I don't know, like female religious figures. I'm obviously great with words. And she's taking a train journey from kind of a large central train station to a small border town, which is on the border of kind of a magical place in the center of the country or the empire called the. I've already forgotten. I've got it all here. Let's find it. I came to, let's have the Golden Sea. I thought the description of it as kind of basically like a giant, unexplored, endless ocean of prairie sounded really cool. So the world building here is minor, but you know it is chapter 1, and I really like the character of Triciny, and the guy that she meets on the train, Mr. Baxter, I think. Mr. Paxton, where he kind of he gives a little bit of world building. So he kind of, it's not an info dump because it works well within the context of the scene, but he gives you as the reader some information about the area that we're going to and about the railway system and the train that she's travelling on. So all in all, good. It didn't. I don't want to say it didn't grab me, but you may have even seen me do it. But like halfway through, or maybe 2/3 of the way through reading the chapter, I did flick down to see how much more was left, which kind of feels like a bad sign. But I do, as I said, like fantasy westerns. The Western world that we have here is very interesting so far. Okay, see you, buddy. And I liked the character of Triciny. I liked the kind of railroad system that came about, and the description of the central train station that was kind of like a giant glass greenhouse. So lots of interesting stuff in that one. I can definitely see potential in where this could go. And I'd love to see some more perspectives in this world as well, because Triciny is kind of like a young woman on her like first trip away from the like convent that she's grown up in. So also the one thing also, you meet these two characters, the Jenkins brothers. They have like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue early on, but they speak in a really kind of exaggerated like southern accent, and that didn't massively sell me, because oftentimes when I read people whose dialogue has been written to have an accent, it can sometimes pull me out of the story. So for now, I'm not going to commit to this one. And we're going to move straight on to let's go for the Wandering Inn next. So we're going to go on to the Wandering Inn because the Gods Are Bastards and Worm are both kind of more modern. Obviously, Worm is set in our world, and the Gods Are Bastards is kind of like a western. But I'd like to break up the kind of closer to our world stuff with this fantasy world. So I'm going on to the Wandering Inn, chapter 1, and I'm going to start reading now. So they talk in Wandering In about how she's kind of transported from she's intending to go to the toilet and or to the bathroom and hadn't even taken her phone. They specifically say hadn't even taken her phone. I don't think I know anyone who goes to the toilet and doesn't take their phone with them. Like, that's prime phone time. Already very unbelievable. Okay, done. So the Wandering In, the first chapter is essentially the girl who is the protagonist of the, at least of this chapter, Erin Solstice. Solstice is a stupid surname. Like, we can't. No one in the real world's name is Erin Solstice. But aside from that, this was this chapter, right? I want to tell you that this chapter was much more interesting. That's kind of how I want to. I enjoyed this chapter more than the first chapter of The Gods Are Bastards, and this chapter is literally just a woman finding a rag and using it to clean a dusty old inn. So absolutely no idea why I enjoyed that more. But I definitely did. I think the writing style had a bit more zip to it. I really like the character of Erin. Triciny in The Gods Are Bastards feels more like a kind of like a fantasy archetype. Like, she's like this, holy warrior, prim and proper sort of character. Whereas Erin is obviously just a person, and she's a person from our world, so she's easy to relate to. Yeah, weirdly, I just read a chapter of a book that was about cleaning, and I loved it. So we do have an early front runner here, and I think it's probably best to just get straight on to the first chapter of Worm, because I've already been sat here for an hour, just looking at the clock on the video. I've been sat here for an hour, so I don't want to make this editing job too mammoth for myself, so let's get straight into it. Worm, Chapter 1. Gestation 1.1, this is called. Well, that one was a lot quicker. I think, in fact, each chapter got quicker as I went through. So, chapter 1 of The Gods Are Bastards was the longest, Wandering In's the middle, and then Worm was the shortest. Worm was again very good. All of these are popular because they're good. That's kind of how things get popular in most cases, apart from 50 Shades of Grey. But This one is kind of giving me like Carrie vibes, and I mean Carrie is specifically referenced in the chapter where what's happening is the main character, who I actually don't think I got their name. Do you know? I don't think I actually got their name. I'm sure. Oh, Taylor. Their name is Taylor. Not Taylor Solstice, hopefully. So she has the ability to command insects, spiders, bugs, to do what she wants. And you see she uses this in kind of a spectacular fashion in the toilet, where she's been bullied by these girls, and they pour fizzy drinks all over her and cover her in drinks and like soak her through. And she calls on the insects and is like, "Oh, I could just send them after him right now, but I'm gonna be a superhero. That's what I'm gonna be. That's how she's gonna like. That's how she's going to. She's kind of getting through the day of being bullied." And it's really interesting because you see a lot of characters in popular comic books who are bullied. For example, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is probably the most famous example. Is he's like the bullying target at his high school. He's that one kid who is the most bullied, and Taylor kind of seems to be in that sort of step as well. Um, I liked the characterization of Taylor. I really enjoyed the kind of setup for the world that you get, that superheroes are just a factor of modern day life, and they're even their teacher is assigning them homework to think about how heroes change their world. So it's nice to have. I like to see superhero worlds where everyone is like, yes, superheroes exist and it's normal. So that's really interesting. I want to see more of this one, definitely. I don't know which one I preferred, Wandering In or Worm. I think that while the advantage to Worm is that it's finished, and I liked both pretty much equally. I see a lot of potential in the Wandering In, especially because I kind of do know where it goes because I've watched reviews. Um, so I think the Wandering In is probably going to be my choice, where I'll be reading a couple of chapters a week and talking about them. Full spoiler for you guys. Um, However, I kind of wasn't anticipating. I knew Worm was good. I knew it was the most popular one, and obviously I like superhero stuff, so I kind of thought it would appeal to me. But I didn't think that this first chapter would make me instantly want to read the next one. And the same thing with Wandering In. So maybe I will flip between the two, and whichever one you guys in the audience are more interested in, or whichever one that I'm more interested in as it goes on, will be the one that I cover most often. So if you have read any of these web serials, pop a comment down below to tell me which ones you think are the ones that I should read. If you've got any other recommendations, and if you've got a preference between Worm and The Wandering In, absolutely, definitely let me know. If you've read The Gods Are Bastards and you think it's incredible and better than the other two, then let me know as well. I'd love to see where all of these stories go, although I think I will be prioritising The Wandering In and Worm. Worm would be a better palate cleanser, so maybe I'll read Worm while I'm reading epic fantasy and Wandering In while I'm reading other stuff. That could be a great idea, but I don't want to lose the thread of either story. So, I don't know. I mean, I could watch my old videos back and give myself some extra views. So, if you like this video, please like it. This took me an hour and 15 minutes to film and will probably take me more time to edit. So, it'd be great if you wanted to chat in the comments, if you want to share this with your friends. If you've read any of these web series, or if you're interested in reading these web series and you want to follow along with me, then please do subscribe. The subscribe button is right there, just below just next to the like button. I'd love to chat to you guys in the comments about these series. If you want to read these opening chapters, the links will be in the description. Read them and come back to the comments, and we will talk about how they go. I'll probably read some more of the later two of Wandering In and maybe Worm. So maybe next week I'll have some interesting stuff to talk about. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it and you want to leave some constructive criticism, then the comments are right there for you. I'd love to chat with you in there. And please share it with a friend. And thank you so much for watching.